all the members of the press who are present here. It's wonderful to be in Vijayawada. I've come here a few times, but never in this capacity as a spokesperson, so I'm very happy to be here. I want to bring to your attention a very serious matter, and I want to make it very simple and straightforward. At this moment, there are 23 press conferences going on all over India, in various cities of India, sab shehron mein, of all fellow spokespersons on one singular issue, that is how money is being robbed from the poor, from the pockets of the poor, and being given to the rich, and one singular man in particular, Mr. Gautam Adani. We are going to talk about what is perhaps the largest financial scam in the modern world. It is a monumental scam, and we have to bring it to light. The government is silent, it is not responding, but we will keep bringing out the facts in front of you. This is crony capitalism, this is loot, this is robbery, this is pickpocketing of the poor and giving it to the rich. The Prime Minister in the Parliament, few days back when the Parliament session was on, he refused to answer any questions and said, these are just lies, these are dirty abuses by the opposition. That is not true. There is too much evidence stacked against Mr. Adani, and we want to know the relationship between Mr. Adani and this government and how the Prime Minister is linked to that. These are questions that we must ask. The words, the speeches of our LOP in the Rajya Sabha, Kharge Sahab, and also of Shri Rahul Gandhi have been expunged. They have been removed, wiped out. Why? Because we asked relevant questions and there is evidence in the public domain regarding this. So these are the questions we will answer. Why are the party, the BJP, trying to sanitize the image of the Prime Minister? Secondly, what is wrong with the JPC on the matter? Does it not warrant a JPC? After all, in 1991, in the Harshad Mehta scam, if you remember, there was a JPC. Mr. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, but there was enough trust in the JPC to investigate the matter. Again, in 2001, there was a JPC in the Ketan Parekh scam when Atal Bihari Ji was the Prime Minister. Why not now? What is wrong with the JPC? The Home Minister says, no, why don't they go to the court? Is the Home Minister telling us that the courts are the only credible institutions left in this country? That the Parliament has no say? That the Parliament is undermined, is compromised by this government? The executive, we know, is the executive, the government, they keep doing raids, CBI, income tax, ED. We know the executive is compromised. The Parliament is no longer relevant because the voice of the opposition is squashed. And the press, the fourth pillar of democracy, the fourth estate, and we saw the raids on BBC, their voice is also being silenced. So these are very important matters. I will bring to you light a few points quickly which tell you what is the evidence against Mr. Adani. How has he been involved? And why should there be a JPC and further inquiry into this whole murky affair? Right? A lot of these points have also been given to you in the press note in detail. I will point out some of them to you. The first point is, how is it that in 2014, an individual who was ranked in the rich list of people around the world, 609, suddenly after 8 years become the second most richest person in the world? His personal wealth increases from $8 billion to $140 billion. I have checked. Never has this happened that in such a short span of time, an individual has amassed so much wealth. The market capitalization of Adani Industries has gone to $280 billion in a span of 8 years. Never has that happened. So we must look into this. Secondly, there have been a lot of questions raised about offshore entities, about shell companies, round-tripping, shell companies outside the country. Are they funding the Adani group to inflate the value of the shares so that you can get more debt, borrow more from the market? Right? There are a lot of shell companies here. How is it that a company that deals primarily with infrastructure has a long gestation period? It takes a long time to recover costs and make profits. Profits are very thin. How come an infrastructure company has amassed a share value which is so high? The price to earnings ratio has increased 214 times in the last 2 years. Staggering amount. Never has this happened. There are also again allegations of accounting fraud, of stock manipulation, and that is why Dow Jones has removed Adani Enterprises from their sustainability index. That is one point. Questions are being raised about the brother of Mr. Adani, Mr. Vinod Adani, who is name came out in the Panama Papers, in the Pandora Papers as having a lot of shell companies. So a lot of questions being raised about this. The second important point is, what is SEBI doing? Are bhai, SEBI is the regulator. It keeps watch, it keeps an eye on all market practices. Now we get the news that SEBI is investigating. Why now? Only after the Hindenburg report came out? Why wasn't it doing earlier? When the prices of Adani shares were rising and rising and rising, people were making money, but suddenly everyone stopped making money. Market capitalization was a lot, but suddenly there was huge losses to the tune of 10.5 lakh crores. That is how much people have lost money. A lot of normal people have also lost money in this. So all Adani shares have fallen down. Not only that, in global rating agencies have downgraded Adani companies from stable to negative. A lot of banks and financial institutions like Credit Suisse, Standard Chartered have stopped taking Adani bonds as collaterals. In fact, I will tell you something, during the Bharat Jodo, and Madam was in the Bharat Jodo, I also went there. After that, Mr. Raghuram Rajan, in a chat with Mr. Raghuram Rajan, Rahul Gandhi had said that, members of my staff are buying Adani shares, and I'm worried because it's just going on and on. So in a sense, he warned us about the inflated prices, about the way this was going on, and there was something fishy about what was going on. He has warned us continuously about the kind of patronage given to a few businesses, in particular Mr. Adani, for a very long time. So this is nothing new. We do not have to wait for the Hindenburg report to tell us what is going on, right? Also, there was in the Parliament, the Finance Ministry assured us last year on 19th of July 2021 that there will be an investigation on SEBI, by SEBI conducted. Where is that investigation? We want to ask. Also, next point is the LIC exposure to Adani shares. Lots of policy holders, almost everyone in the family has an LIC policy. I'm sure many of you, your family members, their family members have LIC policies. How is it that only LIC, SBI, government run financial institutions have invested in Adani? Why not mutual funds, privately owned institutions? In Adani debt, which is of 2 lakh crores, 30% is by government institutions, only 10 by private. Why is it? Why are they giving so much? These are questions we have to ask. How much is the LIC tells us that the exposure to Adani is only 1%, little less than 1%. But when you consider that LIC total assets are 42 lakh crores, then 1% means a lot. And that is all yours and my money, shareholder policyholders' money, which has degraded, which has come down? These are very serious questions, and these are questions we must ask. We also must ask questions like, why are so many foreign investment funds investing in Adani shares? Elara Capital in England, many funds based in Mauritius, Cresta are investing. Their sole portfolio is Adani. What is the source of those funds? Where did they get that money to solely invest in Adani shares? These are questions that may be asked. When we asked about the National Hydrogen Mission, last year it was announced by the government that, announced by Mr. Adani, that he will spend $50 billion in hydrogen, green hydrogen. Suddenly, this year in January, the government announces an outlay of over 1,000 crores for hydrogen mission. So suddenly, when Mr. Adani announces his interest in investing in a project, the government gives an outlay and subsidizes that. So every time there is an announcement, there is a subsidy by the government, and the subsidy is by taxpayers' money. It doesn't come by itself. It is by your money and my money. That is how subsidy comes. Right? So hydrogen mission. We want to know all the monopolistic ports that have been given. There are 13 ports which are controlled by the Adani Group. They control 30% of all port capacity, 40% of container volume. That is very strategic for the country. Monopolistic. And believe me, many of these ports were given to the Adani Group by not even a bidding process. Many were threatened, they were intimidated. In airports as well. Far too many airports with the group. Remember, in the UPA time, 2 airports were given, one in Delhi, one in Bombay, to GMR and GVK. We said that no, there should not be monopoly, it should be given separately. Now you have a monopolistic practices, and GVK was threatened with raids before they handed over the control of Bombay Airport to the Adani Group. That is not all. The list keeps going on and on and on. I want to tell you about the trips of Mr. Adani with the Prime Minister to Israel and getting back defense contracts. I want to tell you about Sri Lanka and was Mr. Godbaya Rajapaksa pressurized into awarding contracts to Mr. Adani there. In Bangladesh, we said that an MOU was signed between UPA and the Bangladesh government that NTPC will have a power plant there. Suddenly, Mr. Adani comes into the picture. The Prime Minister goes in 2015, and there is a power plant in Godda in the Santhal Parganas to give electricity to Bangladesh. A private entity is given that. And all rules were flouted in giving that plant in Godda. Mr. Prime Minister talks about tribal welfare. A lot of rules, all jungle land is being converted into non-forest use for the help of private players like Mr. Adani. Right? That he's the beneficiary of that. And I want to talk about Australia, for instance. In Australia, Mr. Adani takes interest in a coal mine. Nobody wants to give money to him from the banks, none of the important banks, but suddenly SBI comes and says, we will give $1 billion. How does that suddenly happen? Why are only governments, public sector banks taking interest? So, there are a number of instances where the company of Mr. Adani is in serious doubt. So on one hand, and I'm going to conclude now, on one hand you have Mr. Adani who's benefiting from the taxes, from the subsidies given to the poor. On the other hand, you have massive unemployment in this country. You have poverty, you have rising price levels. This year the CPI index has gone up to beyond 6 now. Excise duty and petrol refuses to come down. Poverty levels are increasing, and on the other hand, rich people are getting rich. There are record sales of Mercedes in this country, and this government is benefiting only the rich. And this is our argument all along. This government is a soot-boot ki sarkar, only there for the benefit of the rich. So, thank you. This is the moment what I had to say. It was a straightforward, simple, pointed number of questions that were raised against what is going on and the current economic state in this country. I thank you.